going on, guys? We're back. Chapter 15. Let's get it. Chapter 14, we talked about Samson and how Samson got deceived, and he slays the 30, and he slays that lion, his riddle. We got to talk about that. So now we're going to go further in depth with Samson and with more juicy details. So let's do it. But it came to pass within a while after, in the time of wheat harvest, that Samson visited his wife with a kid. And he said, I will go into my wife into the chamber. But her father would not suffer him to go in. And her father said, I verily thought that you had utterly hated her. Therefore I gave her to thy companion. Is not her younger sister fairer than she? Take her, I pray thee, instead of her. And Samson said concerning them, Now shall I be more blameless than the Philistines, though I do them a displeasure. And Samson went and caught 300 foxes, and took firebrands, and turned tail to tail, and put a firebrand in the midst between the two tails. And when he had set the brands on fire, he let them go in the standing corn of the Philistines, and burn up both shocks, and also the standing corn in the vineyards and olives, and with vineyards and olives. Then the Philistines said, Who hath done this? They answered, Samson, the son-in-law of the Timnite, because he had taken his wife and given her to his companion. And the Philistines came up and burnt her and her father with fire. And Samson said unto them, Though ye have done this, yet will I be avenged of you, and after that I will cease. And he smote them hip and thigh with a great slaughter, and he went down and dwelt in the top of the rock, Edom. Then the Philistines went up and pitched in Judah, and spread themselves in Lehi. And the men of Judah said, Why are ye come up against us? And they answered, To bind Samson. Are we come up to do it? To bind Samson are we come up to do to him as he hath done to us? Then the 3,000 men of Judah went to the top of the rock Edom, and said to Samson, Knowest thou not that the Philistines are rulers over us? What is it that thou hast done unto us? And he said unto them, As they did unto me, so have I done unto them. And they said unto him, We are come down to bind thee, that we may deliver thee into the hand of the Philistines. And Samson said unto them, Swear unto me that ye will not fall upon me yourselves. And they spake unto him, saying, No, but we will bind thee fast, and deliver thee into their hand, but surely we will not kill thee. And they bound him with 2 new cords, and brought him up from the rock. And when he had came unto Lehi, the Philistines shouted against him, and the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him. And the cords that were upon his arms became as flax that was burnt with fire. And his bands loosed from off his hands. And he found a new jawbone of a donkey, and put forth his hand, and took it, and slew 1,000 men therewith. And Samson said, With the jawbone of a donkey, heaps upon heaps, with the jaw of a donkey have I slain 1,000 men. And it came to pass, when he had made an end of speaking, that he cast away the jawbone out of his hand, and he called that place Ramath Lehi. And he was sore athirst, and called unto the Lord, and said, Thou hast given this great deliverance into the hand of thy servant. And now shall I die for thirst, and fall into the hand of the uncircumcised? But God clave an hollow place that was in the jaw, and there came water thereout. And when he had drunk, his spirit came again, and he revived. Wherefore he called the name thereof En-Hakkore, which is in Lehi unto this day. And he judged Israel in the days of the Philistines 20 years. Don't mess with God. Don't mess with God. That's I think that's pretty funny that he just tied some foxes' tails together, put something in between their tails to light on fire, and then just set them loose in a cornfield, just burn it all to the ground. That's a lot of foxes, by the way. 300? Is that what he said? 300? Yeah, caught 300 foxes and took firebrands and turned tail to tail and put the firebrand in the midst between the two tails and set them loose. You could say he was a little upset, just a little bit. And then when the Philistines come to get him, the Spirit of God came mightily upon him. You know, let alone just God's Spirit coming upon you, but mightily upon him. And the cords they used to bind him, he just was like, boom! Don't mess with God and his people. But there's also a good lesson in that as children of God, if you're saved, you are a child of God. As children of God, Samson shows a very interesting way to look at the Christian life. That even though God's Spirit came down to him, right? It doesn't mean that Samson's going to have an easy life. It's still going to be hard. He's still going to have problems that he's going to hit. Things are still going to happen to him. But as long as you, as a servant of God, are trusting God daily, continuously, all the time, even in bad times, even in good times, that God will be there.